Hello and welcome back to Demure Soul Blue. I hope you guys have been having an amazing week because I had an amazing week. I had amazing week where I had so many revelations as to why I was acting the way I was acting, why I was perceiving the things the way I was perceiving, and a lot of revelations. However, I really hope that this Saturday, this weekend, you do have plans with yourself because in the past few videos, I have made it very clear that weekends should be a place where you invest time in yourself and not just your friends and your social circle, right? However, today's video topic is all about attachment styles and how you attach to different things, different people, be it money, be it your friends, be it your romantic relationship, be it your family. You do have an attachment style with all, like in all of these, spheres of your life, all of these places in your life, all of these phases of your life, you have an attachment style. And in order to know what your attachment style is, what I did was actually take an online test. Took 5 of them, and I got the same answer in every test. My generalized attachment style with normal strangers was also fear avoidant attachment style, where I was anxious and avoidant at the same time, like best of both the worlds. I don't know how, but I did. In relationships, being a fear avoidant attachment style, like having that fear avoidant attachment style, only focused mostly on the anxious side, okay? It was a interplay for me. For me in romantic relationships, I have a very anxious attachment where fear of abandonment is so deep rooted in me and kicks in so bad every time I think that this person loves me that I go like, oh my god, now there is a reason for them to leave me. Since they love me, therefore it equates to them leaving me. That's anxious attachment style, okay? With my parents, I recognized that I had a avoidant attachment style where I was like so sure, like my sense of self is so unbreakable and unshakable that I just avoided that close relationship with them with for whatever reason. That attachment style was what I engaged in my family environment. With my friends, oh my god, I always played between the push and pull game, like, being anxious or just being avoidant, being overly indulged or not being indulged at all. With money, always having the fear avoidant attachment style where I was like, when I get it, I don't want it because oh my god, I have to manage it. And when I don't get it, I'm like, I need it. I need you. Come here. Come to me. That is fear avoidant attachment style, okay? So, in fear avoidant attachment style, what happens is that your insecurity, what can I say, amalgamates with your need for connection. You want that intimacy. You want to have that human connection. But at the same time, you're too scared to have it because fear of abandonment, fear of being seen, fear of being heard, and God forbid, do you have that strong connection with somebody? Then it's gonna be over. Obviously, it's gonna be over because that is what is set in our subconscious minds. We people who have fear avoidant attachment style, we take on from both of the worlds and we just go like, you know what? We are just gonna be like this. We are just gonna be so scared of intimacy that we are gonna crave it more. Every time we see intimacy, we want it, we go towards it, but the moment the small trigger in you sets off where you feel that, oh my god, after this I'm going to be abandoned, you start pushing it away. You start going like, I don't want it anymore. Just keep it to yourself. Don't put it on me because I am not in the, you can say, space for it. I don't want it. Just how are you gonna ever be in a healthy relationship or experience one if this is your attachment style, right? You might be in a relationship for 3 years, but at the end of the day, you know it's gonna end, and you're gonna work towards ending it so that you don't have to sit and be like, when is this person going to leave me? That's okay. And sometimes you end up being so anxious about this fear of abandonment, about this fear of being seen and heard and acknowledged, that you actively make sure that the person in front is frustrated with your clinginess, with your need of approval, with your need of reassurance. This is one way you go. Or the other way is like, you just go like, oh my god, okay, I am just gonna ghost this person out, or I am just gonna make sure that this person knows that, my standards are too high and they can never meet it. If this is you, then realize that if you are striving to have a better connection with anybody, be it in your workplace, be it at your home, be it with your partner, you will not achieve it. Because you are so insecure deep down that your human primal nature of seeking connection will always put you in a puddle where you will be so insecure about abandonment and so insecure about your own self that you will be like, oh my god, this can't happen to me, or this is not something I'm going to sign up for. And how do you find this middle way? How do you realize where these attachment styles are coming from? Like every renowned psychologist has stated it, be it Freud, be it anybody. Everybody has stated one thing, and that one thing is that you learn all of your attachment styles in your childhood. Because as a child, when you come into the world, you naturally connect with your caregiver, and how your caregiver, parent, whatever you call them, is looking out for you, how they teach you to love yourself and love others. That is what you learn. And there are so many people I know out there who had absent parents, or who had dismissive parents, or who had overly concerned parents. And a lot of times, one parent was dismissive while the other parent was completely overindulgent and dominating. And when you grow up in such conflicting environments, you start picking up both of their, you can say, natures, both of their styles. And I'm not saying that your parents are to be blamed, not at all. They did what they could do the best, but at the same time, it's not your responsibility to make sure their emotional reactions don't hurt you. What you can control is your own distance from people, your own mindset, but you cannot control other people's emotions, like I have been saying for a very long time. So yeah, being a child, you won't even have this knowledge. So if your parents tell you that you're not good enough, you can't do this, you can't do that, and after a fight, if your parents left you alone to deal with all the emotions alone and be like, this is your punishment, you should be doing this, you should be doing that, you develop a fear of abandonment, because time and again you saw your caregivers, the people you looked up to most, just abandon you. That abandonment, that fear will sit in you. You will always be questioning yourself that I'm not good enough. You will always be scared that, I will be abandoned, that this is not something that can happen. This is not something that I'm meant for. Or you will actually not believe anything. Anything good that happens to you, you will not register it. And the most prominent thing in these, through these attachment style, is your anger. People call anger as an issue, but trust me, it is not the anger that is causing the issue. It is your response. It is how you behave when you feel angry that is causing the issue. Okay? And realize this, that when you grow up with parents who are hyper independent or completely dismissive or completely controlling of you, there is a good chance that you might not have learned how to regulate your nervous system or how to calm yourself down when you felt angry. And it is very possible that when you got angry, you only heard that you should not be angry. Angry is very bad. Angry is a bad emotion. When you get angry, you don't know how to talk. When you get angry, you just can't control it. And if you asked why can't you control it, they would be like, because it's anger. See, anger is not negative. You can actually channel your anger. You can actually channel this energy of anger into a very positive thing if you want. When you feel angry, if you know how to calm yourself down, you can actually make a good response, you can give a good response, you can make better plans for future, you can do a lot of things. But most of us did not know how to, calm ourselves down when we got angry. And also, your anger goes goes on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you see your anger always coming out at a point when it's already 9 or 10, then you have been suppressing your needs, you have been suppressing the anger, you have been suppressing your frustration of your needs not being met, or you not being hurt, or your emotions being ignored, or you as an entity in that particular connection. If you feel ignored, anger will only come out at 8 if you don't know how to communicate and set out those boundaries. That is why you need to learn how to set out those boundaries and communicate what you need, communicate how you need things, and understand that communication does not mean you imposing what you want. Communication means you let them know what you want, the person in front lets you know what they want, and you guys come to a middle ground where both of you don't feel like you guys are compromising so much. That is normal. And understand this: frustration is number 1 on the anger scale. When you get frustrated with something, make sure you're telling it out loud, you're saying it out loud, because a lot of people tend to keep it inside and only burst out with all that bad memories from the past, those past mistakes, and bring it on the table and be like, you did this, you did this, you did that, in the past, in the past, in the past. Your anger was not supposed to bring out things about the past. Your anger was supposed to let the person know what was making you feel in the present, right? A lot of when you are in an avoidant attachment style, you are very ignorant about feelings and emotions because it makes you very uncomfortable. There might have been a situation in your childhood where you might have felt something emotionally and you might have voiced it, or something, you might have cried as a baby and you might have heard that, you should not cry, crying makes you weak, crying is not good. If you listen to these things when you feel something, obviously you're not supposed to have a very good picture of it in your head, right? Also, when you have a fear avoidant attachment style, I came to know that you are craving intimacy while at the same time running away from it, right? The same thing that I stated. Even in anger situations, when anger comes out, your anxious self is fueling into that anger, bringing in all your insecurities and being like, why can't anybody understand me? And when you're avoidant, that avoidant side of you, when that sees the anger, it just goes like, oh, that's something that's not likable, that's something that I don't like, so I won't really voice it. I mean, the person in front should understand this already. Stop assuming. Did you know what the person in front of you was thinking or feeling in that moment that you expected that person to understand what you were feeling and thinking in that moment? Make your arguments, make your actions align. You cannot always have a insecure attachment style, right? Like, you eventually will strive to have a secure attachment style where you realize that wanting the bare minimum, or even expecting the bare minimum, is not actually a lot. It is called bare minimum for a reason, right? Okay, also, let me explain these attachment styles in the relationship with money. It's my understanding completely, obviously. You can understand it in a different way. But understand this, when you have an anxious attachment style, it triggers it triggers abandonment. It triggers the fact that your emotional availability is not being met by the person in front. And when you have an anxious attachment style with money, you will always be anxious about money leaving you, about you not having enough money, about you never, no matter what you do, money just not staying. You being scared of money. You being scared of managing money. This again has a lot of roots in your childhood. Like the movies that we watched, the particular movie that just came into my mind after saying this was The Confessions of a Shopaholic. Movies like that have always shown that women are so bad with money management. Women just like blow off money. They just can't keep money. That is your anxious attachment to money. No. You know how to manage money because it is very natural inside all of us. Like it is just another skill to be acquired. It is just another skill to understand. That is it. Stop making it something it is not. Stop making it the demon it is not. Okay? And when you are avoidant, you have that avoidant attachment style with money. You avoid anything regarding money whatsoever. Like you might be doing a job, but you will not keep account of how much money you're getting. You will not keep account of how much money you can save. You will not have that planning done out. Because you're like, I'm earning money. I have the money. It is okay. I don't have any reason to like obsess about money. For anxious attachment styles, obsessing is a very common thing. Because you don't want it to leave you, right? Therefore, you obsess over it. But when you're avoidant, you're so emotionally unavailable. You avoid emotional vulnerability, right? Therefore, you just act cool about it. You just act cool about having money. You're like, oh, I have the money, just take it away. You won't think like, okay, even if I have the money, is it worth it? No, you won't. You'll be like, you'll just write it off as, okay, it's something that I can have, I can buy, you'll just get it. Right? For avoidant styles, for avoidant attachment styles, for the ambivalent attachment styles, the main fear is of being emotionally vulnerable. You do not fathom the concept of being emotionally present in the situation with anybody else because you're so self-sufficient. Your self-concept is so great. But you don't realize that people who are avoidant or like who have avoidant attachment styles, they end up becoming narcissists. They end up becoming that, soft narcissist as well, who achieves things through manipulation, who receive things through manipulation, who maintain a toxic cycle just to make sure that, their self identity is not harmed. And I am so sure that so many of you resonate with me right now on this front that, attachment styles do impact a lot. You can't even deny it. You can't deny that you're not anxious around people. You can't deny that you're avoidant of other people's emotions. And even though childhood is like common to develop all of these attachment styles, a lot of experiences, a lot of traumas, a lot of lessons that you learn throughout your life, honestly, you tend to use them as your, for example, I am this way because of this reason. It's all inside of you. And when you wish to change your attachment style, turn your attachment style into a secure attachment style where you're not being manipulative, where you're not obsessing, where you're emotionally available, and where you understand that, you know what, fear of connection is not going to allow me to have a connection. You'll strive for that secure attachment style. You'll strive to understand what secure attachment style is. And honestly, in your relationship with yourself, make sure you have a secure attachment style and not an avoidant attachment style, because most of us who have a fear avoidant or anxious attachment style with people outside of us end up having this avoidant attachment style with us, with our needs, towards our own self. If you too have that, then make sure you actually go out there, take the quiz, know your attachment style, and start working towards a secure attachment style. Start working towards why you should have a secure attachment style with you. Because until and unless you're secure within your own skin, you cannot be secure with any relationship out there, with any connection out there. You have to be secure that, you know what, I am who I am. I am a person with flaws. I am a person who has so many good things. And I accept myself for both these things. Right? Also, attachment styles are very personal to every person because of their own experiences, because of their own traumas. So you cannot be like, okay, since I know this person for a very long time, I can tell them what kind of an attachment style they have. You can't predict your own attachment style in most of the situations. How can you predict somebody else's attachment style? What you can do is be healthy towards them and tell them that, you should get to know your attachment style. Give them the room to explore themselves and not direct them, not control them, because avoidant attachment style, you guys control things a lot. Controlling is there in all attachment styles, but avoidant people control situations so hard so that they don't have to change, because change is so uncomfortable to them. You guys really please stop imposing yourselves on others. Stop controlling people. You can't make a person want you if they don't want you. You can't make other people look at you the same way you look at yourself. No. You can't look at people the same way they look at themselves. What is this weird expectation that you've got? Get over it. You don't have to be there. So yeah, this was an overview of attachment styles and how we attach to people, how we attach to things, and how that ends up there, their energy impacting us. Their energy, coming in our lives or not coming in our lives. And also, even if childhood is one of the places, as I have said, where you develop these attachment styles, it is not the only place. You have to sit with yourself and do the shadow work in order to realize what all you need to do. Okay? I'll make a more informed video of these attachment styles and what you can do, what are the trigger points for a lot of us, right? Actually, yeah, I'll make the video on trigger points and how we tend to think about it, so that you can actually start doing that shadow work, start that work on yourself, and a lot more things. Okay, a lot more things. I'll tag the attachment style test in the description below. Make sure to tune in. And I have an exciting news for you guys. I am launching a course up above and beyond soon. It is a compact box. When you open it, it goes like Pandora's box. Like the knowledge, the tools, the one-on-one sessions. It's crazy, okay? So make sure you do check that out, all right? When I release it, obviously I'll release it eventually, but yeah. So I was shuffling, and the first card that I got for the collective today is the Magician. You're creating something. You're creating something. It can be in your head, it can be anywhere, but you're creating something. Creation is happening, and you are the creator. You have the pentacles, you have the cups, you have the swords, you have the wands, you have everything that you need. Your wisdom is infinite. You see? It's fulfillment. It's a new beginning. It's amazing. So, whatever you guys are creating, make sure, wow, make sure that you guys are actually confident about your creation. Make sure that you have the clarity. Make sure that you have the clarity in order to create what you create, because that is when success comes in. You are well informed, and that is why you are in this creator energy. You are in this creator zone, right? This is the reason why you want to give birth to something new. And High Priestess, like literally High Priestess, you're well informed, you're being guided, you are spiritually aligned, you are spiritually healthy, your values are in place, your motivations are in place. Give that creation, you have the clarity as well. So whatever you're creating, make sure you are in tune not just with your outer self, your ego, your consciousness, but also with your shadow, your unconscious self. And making informed decisions like this wise priestess who has the information of both the worlds. And she takes decisions based on her moon cycles. A lot of you people might not have understood the moon cycle thing because it's for women exclusively. We bleed in order, like in sync with the moon out there. When moon phases out, when moon phases in, we follow the moon. Our body follows the moon. So make sure that you're tapping into your bodily wisdom, your conscious wisdom, and your unconscious wisdom. Your body holds all the knowledge that you want, your mind holds all the knowledge that you want, and you have the resources, you have internet with you to know about everything that you don't know about. So, yeah, 8 of Wands, like your work will take fruition. When you create with the energy, with the wisdom that you have already, it will take fruition and it will be a success. 8 of Wands is not just abundance, it's not just having wealth, it is not just prosperity, it is things moving fast, things going forth just how you imagined it to be. So yeah, those are the cards for you today, babies. So happy today has a different energy. Tap in, go ahead, check your attachment styles, do everything that you guys want to, and keep an eye out on my Instagram for your journal prompts. Thank you.